I welcome Professor Narayan sir, Dr. S. Siddharth sir, Bhadra ma'am, and Dr. A.K. Pandey sir in today's webinar. And I'm really happy to be with all of you, and it's a pleasure to meet you, Dr. S. Siddharth. I'm meeting you for the first time, and I'm really excited for today's webinar. And so I request Professor Narayan sir to start with today's webinar now.
Shamshidha, please check with Anantamula.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, you could not.
Yes, sir.
So, namaste to everybody, to Dr. A.K. Pandey, Dr. Siddharth, and Bhadra Behenji. Professor Anantamula is yet to join. Maybe due to some technical problem, they could not join. आवाज मिल रही है स्वयंसिद्धा?
Yes, sir,
आवाज
you're
मिल रही है?
audible. Yes, sir, आप audible हैं.
Okay. So I welcome Dr. A.K. Pandey and Dr. Siddharth. I am seeing Dr. Siddharth after a long gap. Hope he must be doing well. Today's theme of the discussion is the peace, global peace and Gandhiji. The current scenario needs peace. Current global scenario needs peace, and Gandhiji's basic emphasis was on peace and satyagraha. So this peace is an important ingredient for the development of. Okay, good evening, Anantamula, Professor Anantamula. You are most welcome to this one. So this peace is a very important ingredient. Without peace, you cannot think of any development. And Gandhiji, while experimenting his experiment with truth and Champaran movement, which ultimately resulted into independence of the country, he maintained cool and peace throughout his movement. He never lost his temper, and he never used any hard word. So, and he was always in favor of good relationship, not only with the individual, but also between the countries. So with this background, I would like to request, first of all, Bhadra Behenji, because she is almost 90 years old and she has devoted her life for Gandhi and Gandhian vision. She is a well-known Gandhian and she lives in Ahmedabad, Sabarmati Ashram. She has a long experience. She has a long experience and long memory with working with the Gandhiji. So I will first of all request Bhadra Behenji to share her views on global peace and Gandhiji. Bhadra Behenji.
नमस्कार, सुनाई दे रहा है? मेरी आवाज सुनाई दे रही है?
हाँ, सुनाई दे रही है आपकी आवाज.
अच्छा. नमस्कार, मैं 79 इयर्स की हूँ, 90 इयर्स की नहीं. और पहले ये बता देती हूँ. और गांधी जी की बात करते हैं तो आज का विषय हम कहते हैं ग्लोबल पीस. तो उसके बारे में मैं गांधी जी ने जो अहिंसा के बारे में कहा है वो उनके ही शब्दों में पढ़ना चाहती हूँ जिसे पता चले कि उनके विचार ये शांति के साथ भी कितने कैसे जुड़े हुए थे। क्योंकि आज हम जानते हैं कि सब जगह अशांति है। रशिया यूक्रेन का तो है, उसके साथ साथ कई देश जुड़े हुए हैं। और अभी हम सुन रहे हैं पाकिस्तान, श्रीलंका, सबकी कुछ कुछ बातें हमें हमारे कानों में पड़ रही है और अचानक भी हमारा हो रहा है। तो उसके लिए मैं थोड़ा सा हिंसा के बारे में उनके विचार और बाद में एक प्रेयर है, तो वो प्रेयर भी मैं गाऊंगी। कोई आवाज आ रही है, वो बंद हो जाए तो अच्छा है। हाँ, तो अहिंसा व्यापक वस्तु है। हम हिंसा की होली के बीच गिरे हुए पामर प्राणी है। हम देख रहे हैं कि यूक्रेन और रशिया के साथ जो हो रहा है दोनों का देशों के बीच, तो ये हम गांधी के विचार पढ़ेंगे तब हमें पता चलेगा कि उनके मन में क्या था। यह वाक्य गलत नहीं है कि जीव पर जीव जीता है। मनुष्य एक क्षण के लिए भी बाह्य हिंसा के बिना जी नहीं सकता। खाते पीते उठते बैठते सभी क्रियाओं में इच्छा अनिच्छा से वह कुछ न कुछ हिंसा तो करता ही रहता है। यदि इस हिंसा से छूटने के लिए वह महाप्रयत्न करता है, उसकी भावना में केवल अनुकंपा होती है। वह सूक्ष्म से सूक्ष्म जंतु का भी नाश नहीं चाहता और यथाशक्ति उसे बचाने का प्रयत्न करता है, तो वह अहिंसा का पुजारी है। अहिंसा का पुजारी होने के साथ साथ जो युद्ध चल रहा है उसके बारे में भी उन्होंने लिखा है। और हम जानते हैं कि कई कई देश कैसी कैसी किसी किसी बात से रशिया और यूक्रेन के साथ भी जुड़े हुए हैं। अपना थोड़ा सा प्रयत्न हम भी कर रहे हैं, तो उसी के बाद उसमें जो शांति कैसी लानी चाहिए उनका जो थोड़ा सा विचार है वो भी मैं पढ़ूंगी, क्योंकि उनके उनके ही शब्दों में मैंने ये सब इकट्ठा किया है। दो राष्ट्रों के बीच युद्ध छिड़ने पर अहिंसा में विश्वास रखने वाले व्यक्ति का धर्म है कि बस उस युद्ध को रोके। जो इस धर्म का पालन न कर सके, जिसमें विरोध करने की शक्ति न हो, जिसे विरोध करने का अधिकार प्राप्त न हुआ हो, वह युद्ध कार्य में सम्मिलित हो और सम्मिलित होते हुए भी उसमें से अपने को, अपने देश को और सारे संसार को उबारने का हार्दिक प्रयत्न करें। गांधी जी ने तो आप सब लोग जानते हैं कि उनकी जीवनी में हम देखते हैं कि कहाँ कहाँ कैसे प्रयत्न उन्होंने दक्षिण अफ्रीका में भी किया। जहां हो सके शांति का प्रयत्न वो करते रहते थे, लेकिन जहां अपने आप से वो नहीं जुड़ सके तो उन्होंने लिखा है कि ऐसी उपासना, ऐसी प्रार्थना निरावाणी विलास नहीं होती। प्रार्थना करनी चाहिए, उसका मूल कंठ नहीं हृदय है। अतएव यदि हम हृदय की निर्मलता को पाले, उसके तारों को सुसंगित कंठित रखे, तो उनमें से जो सूर निकलते हैं वे गगनगामी होते हैं। वो और हम कहते हैं ना कि हम वहां पहुंच नहीं सकते हैं, लेकिन प्रार्थना तो कर सकते हैं। तो वो कहते हैं कि स्तुति, उपासना, प्रार्थना वहम नहीं है, बल्कि हमारा खाना पीना, चलना बैठना जितना सच है, उससे भी अधिक सच यह चीज है। यह कहने में अतिशयोक्ति नहीं कि यही सच है और सब झूठ है। तो मैं इसके लिए ये प्रार्थना पे जो ज्यादा उन्होंने भार दिया है, तो सर्वधर्म प्रार्थना, सबके लिए प्रार्थना वो कैसी होनी चाहिए, वो प्रार्थना मैं करना चाहती हूँ। सब उसमें सब प्रार्थना है, वैदिक प्रार्थना, ताओ प्रार्थना, जैन प्रार्थना, बौद्ध प्रार्थना, इस्लामिक प्रार्थना। मैं बोलती जाऊंगी कि इसमें क्या क्या है। वैदिक प्रार्थना में कहा है ये प्रार्थना, ये हमारे मन को तो शांति देगी, लेकिन जहाँ युद्ध हो रहा है, सब लोग विचलित है, कई लोगों को, अब श्रीलंका भी, वहां भी थोड़ा सी हलचल हो रही है, वो सबको हमारी प्रार्थना से सांत्वना मिले, ऐसी हम ईश्वर से प्रार्थना करते हैं कि ये प्रार्थना उन तक पहुंचे। तो वैदिक प्रार्थना से मैं शुरू करती हूँ। ले जा सत्य से सत्य के प्रति, ले जा तमस्से ज्योति के प्रति, मृत्यु से ले जा अमृत के प्रति, चले साथ और बोले साथ, दिल से हिल मिल जिए साथ, अच्छे कर्म करे हम साथ, बैठ के साथ भजे हम नाथ, हो संकल्प समान समान, हो जन जन के हृदय समान, सबके मन में भाव समान, निश्चय सम हो कार्य समान। अब ताओ प्रार्थना। सद्व्यवहार करेंगे मुझसे, उनसे मैं सद्व्यवहार करूं, दुर्व्यवहार करे उनसे भी मैं तो सद्व्यवहार करूं। दुर्जन को सज्जन करने का सदाचार उपचार है, द्वेष क्रोध को पिघलाने का सही तरीका प्यार है। जैन प्रार्थना। क्षमा में चाहता सबसे, मैं भी सबको करूं क्षमा, मैत्री मेरी सभी से हो, किसी से बैर हो नहीं। बौद्ध प्रार्थना। जीतो अक्रोध से क्रोध, साधुत्व से असाधुता, कंजूसी दान से जीतो, सत्य से झूठवादिता, वैर से न कदापि भी मिटते वैर है कहीं, मैत्री ही से मिटे वैर, यही धर्म सनातन। इस्लामी प्रार्थना। दयावान को करूं प्रणाम, कृपावान को करूं प्रणाम, विश्व सकल का मालिक तू, अंतिम दिन का चालक तू, तेरी भक्ति करूं सदा, तेरी पूजा करूं सदा, दिखा हमें तू सीधी राह, जिन पर तेरी रहम निगाह, ऐसो की जो सीधी राह, दिखा हमें वह सीधी राह, जिन पर करता है तू क्रोध, भ्रमित हुए या है गुमराह, उनके पथ का लूं नहीं नाम, दयावान को करूं प्रणाम। शिख प्रार्थना। एक ओंकार सतनाम, करता पुरखु निर्भव निर्वैर, अकाल मूर्ति अजुनी सेभम, गुरु प्रसादी, आदि सच जुगादि सच, है भी सच, नानक होसी भी सच। अब ईसाई प्रार्थना, जिसमें शांति के बारे में बात है। शांति का वाद्य बना तू मुझे प्रभु, शांति का वाद्य बना तू मुझे, शांति का वाद्य बना तू मुझे प्रभु, शांति का वाद्य बना तू मुझे। हो तिरस्कार जहाँ कर उसने, हो हमला तो क्षमा करूं मैं, हो जहाँ भेद अभेद करूं, हो जहाँ भूल में सत्य करूं, शांति का वाद्य बना तू मुझे प्रभु, शांति का वाद्य बना तू मुझे। हो संदेह वहाँ विश्वास, घोर निराश वहाँ करूँ आस, हो अंधियार वहाँ पे प्रकाश, हो जहाँ दुख उसे करूँ हर्ष, शांति का वाद्य बना तू मुझे प्रभु, शांति का वाद्य बना तू मुझे, शांति का वाद्य बना तू मुझे प्रभु, शांति का वाद्य बना तू मुझे। ये प्रार्थना शांति के लिए। हम जानते हैं कि शांति बाह्य वातावरण में तो शांति रखना चाहिए, लेकिन मन में भी शांति हो तब ये अशांति दूर हो सकती है। तो सबका मन भी शांत हो जाए, हमारा मन भी शांत हो जाए, वातावरण में शांति हो जाए, इसका ये मतलब था। इसके लिए हमने प्रार्थना की। अब अगर समय हो मेरे लिए तो हिंसा का एक गाना है, तो वो गा सकती हूँ मैं। नारायण जी, गा सकती हूँ? हेलो?
यस मैम, आप गा सकती हैं 100%।
ठीक है।
आप प्लीज गाइए, प्लीज प्लीज
अच्छा,
कंटिन्यू।
हाँ, वो नारायण भाई ने ही लिखा है कि हिंसा के कैसे स्वरूप है। हिंसा हिंसा दो दो मुखों से काटती हमारे पास आ रही है। एक तो हिंसा का स्वरूप हम देख सकते हैं सामने कि कैसा बममारी और वो होती है, और दूसरा उसका रूप है वो छिपे से मानव के जो पूरा ढांचा है, गरीबी, बेकारी, भ्रष्टाचार, उसके बारे में हिंसा का दो स्वरूप है। हम बेकारी में होते, भ्रष्टाचार होता है, वो सब भी हिंसा ही है, ऐसा गिना है। और बममारी जो हो रही है सामने से, जो हिंसा के स्वरूप होते हैं वो भी हिंसा होती है। वो छोटा सा गाना है, वो सुना देती हूँ। हिंसा के स्वरूप को जान लो रे भाई, दो दो मुखों से काटती वाई। कैसे कैसे हिंसा आती है, ये हम खत्म करें तब शांति होगी। एक मुख हिंसा का नंगा दड़ंग है, दांत दिखलाती काटती प्रचंड है, उघारा मुख घोर दिखता है भई, हिंसा स्वरूप पहचानो रे भाई, हिंसा के स्वरूप को जान लो रे भाई, दो दो मुखों से काटती वहाई। हमने एक मुख तो देखा जो बममारी होती है, दूजा मुख हिंसा का चोर सा छिपा हुआ, मानव समाज के ढांचों में है जागुसा, खतरा पर उसका जरा भी कम नहीं, हिंसा स्वरूप पहचानो रे भाई, दंत नाखून कभी तीर तलवार, जो पिस्तौल बंदूक बम गोले विकराल हो। ये हिंसा का पहला स्वरूप। एक एक से बढ़कर ध्वंसकारी वो भई, हिंसा स्वरूप पहचानो रे भाई। अब दूसरा हिंसा का स्वरूप क्या है? अनिति अन्याय अत्याचारों का रूप ले, दमन शोषण कभी कुशासन स्वरूप ले, अनिति अन्याय अत्याचारों का रूप ले, दमन शोषण कभी कुशासन स्वरूप ले, गहरी गहरी समाज भीतर वो आए, हिंसा स्वरूप पहचानो रे भाई, एक तो बहाती खून, दूजी खून चूसती। एक प्रकार की हिंसा जो बम गिराती है, मारती है, वो खून बहाती है, लेकिन दूसरी हिंसा है वो हमारा खून चूसती है अन्याय शोषण से। एक तो रुलाती है, दूसरी है पीसती, आंखों का पर्दा हटाओ देखो भाई, हिंसा स्वरूप पहचानो रे भाई, हिंसा के स्वरूप को जान लो रे भाई, दो दो मुखों से काटती वही। ऐसा हिंसा का स्वरूप हमारे समाज जीवन में फैला है। उसमें से शांति हमें कैसे मिले, हमारा जीवन व्यवहार कैसा हो, हमारा मन कैसा हो, दूसरे की बात को, दूसरे के प्रदेश को हम छीनना चाहते हैं, क्या लेना चाहते हैं, ये सब बातें आध्यात्मिक भी उसमें है, और हमारा जो रोज बरोज का जीवन है उसको भी कैसे हम सुधारे, तब शांति ला सकते हैं। ऐसी छोटी सी बात करके मैं विराम लेती हूँ। आभार।
Narayan sir, please unmute yourself.
आपने बहुत ही अच्छी बात कही। अगर मन अशांत है तो फिर बाहर में शांति कैसे होगी? तो शांति के लिए आवश्यक है कि मन में भी शांति हो और पर्यावरण में भी शांति हो, तभी समाज में शांति हो सकता है। तो हम समाज में शांति हो, इसके लिए गांधी जी ने अपनी बातों को रखा है। उन्होंने अपने आंदोलनों से भी बताया है कि कैसे मन को शांत रख सकते हैं। तो अब इन्हीं शब्दों के साथ मैं आपका फिर से धन्यवाद करता हूँ। अब मैं डॉक्टर सिद्धार्थ जी से मैं उम्मीद करता हूँ कि प्लीज यू कम एंड say something about global peace and Gandhi ji.
नमस्कार सर, थैंक यू वेरी मच। बहन भद्रा सवाई जी, डॉक्टर अनंतमुल्ला जी, डॉक्टर ए के पांडे, and the coordinator is स्वयं सिद्धादास। ये टॉपिक जहाँ तक है, I'm a practitioner, economist, practitioner, financial expert, but I do keep track of the world order and the world situation. When I look at the situation as on date, आज के दिन जो स्थिति है, most of the countries, many countries are at war on a multi-dimensional plane. Either it is on account of religion, it is on account of a disturbed economic situation, or a war like Ukraine and Russia. So it's a very multi-dimensional war that is on. Some are silent, some are on board, some are under the carpet. And Gandhiji's views are more relevant today, as they were, as are more relevant as they were relevant during those days. Mahatma Gandhiji gave a solution and did talk about that the process of peace is very important. How do you attain peace is more important, and the process is more important. And this makes the process or the peace very sustainable. Behan Badra Savai did talk about prayer, did talk about inner peace, did talk about bringing about peace through a mechanism of prayer. There are other ways which Mahatma Gandhi ji practiced. One was his basic tenet of non-violence, trying to be non-violent towards the opponent, and then pressurize the opponent in order to get a situation of peace. He did hit the English economy at the roots of its economic uh, backbone, the trade, the economic trade with India, the economic trade, the exports, and the balance of payments with India. Now, these days, it is multidimensional, and it's very difficult to resolve this dispute through a unilateral war. Uh, Russia and Ukraine may be a unilateral war. The other countries also may be at unilateral wars. But the problems are multilateral, and it's all the more very complex. And Mahatma Gandhi's way of restoring peace is the only way as on date. One of the ways of doing it is, as he prescribed, being non-violent, trying to negotiate, trying to find other ways of peace. And in case if two parties don't arrive at peace, he did talk about a situation of arbitration. That is what he spoke in his book, wherein he talks about arbitration, third party arbitration as one of the processes. Uh, War do get into nations do incur losses. Nations do incur losses on either side, and it is a situation wherein it becomes unsustainable even after the war is won or lost. Either side becomes economically broken. Either side becomes economically disadvantaged, and either side, its economy totally becomes unsustainable. There are countries at war which are non-violent, but still there are wars. Like, uh, for example, Sri Lanka is now facing its economic um, issues, a severe inflation, which has affected. Pakistan also does have war on both economic and physical fronts. Afghanistan already has a war internally. So many countries are at war on various forums. Uh, I would do like to listen to other of my panelists on this basic forum of this basic issue of multinational war that has caught this world, and also how we would resolve this multinational war through the mode of non-violence that Mahatma Gandhi taught us. Thank you very much. Professor, you have to unmute your mic.
Yes. So, thank you, Dr. Siddhartha, who dealt very well on the subject of peace and Gandhi. Today, the different countries like Russia, Ukraine, and the other countries are at war, and the globe needs peace. And then people are remembering Gandhiji, how Gandhiji could have been if he would have been, what would have been the situation, as he stopped all these or could have continued. So all these are the hypothetical things, but I believe that it is only the Gandhian way to bring peace in the society or in the globe, in the world. So, please, I thank you very much for agreeing to participate in our webinar. Now, I will request Dr. Anantamula, who is a professor in USA. Please, please go ahead with your views on this theme.
Yeah. Thank you, thank you, thank you very much. I have a different take about nonviolence. Based on our scriptures, actually, nonviolence is a relentless pursuit of truthful ends through moral means. That is what I read from our scriptures. So, again, let me repeat: nonviolence is the relentless pursuit of truthful ends through moral means. So, this moral word is very important, and the relentless pursuit is also very important. I will get into more details about this. So, nonviolence is also about avoiding external physical violence. Non-violence is actually it says that avoid external physical violence, but your mind also should not be violent. So you have to your thoughts should be non-violent also. So maintain optimism concerning human nature. That is another concept of non-violence. And then first recognition of non-violence is a self-purification. As I said, your mind should be at peace, and mind should not be violent for you to be violent externally or physically. So that how do we control the mind? That is one of the important things. So um, uh, the one excellent model of nonviolence is a compassionate wisdom. What is compassionate? Basically, ability to understand, put yourself in others' position, and empathy. These are some of the things that will give you that compassionate wisdom. So what are those compassionate wisdom qualities? Maybe love, service, sacrifice, truth, forgiveness, fraternity. These are some of the things are human qualities that one should acquire to remain in non-violent mode. So non-violence creates an attitude of universal amity or universal harmony, and one sees these others' problems as his own problems. So that's how a non-violence mentality will come. So that's why in our prayers we'll say Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So that is actually the universal peace. But here, actually, the original non-violence personification of non-violence is Lord Sri Rama. On the occasion of Lord Sri Ram Navami, I would like to talk about a little bit about Sri Ram instead of other people who have followed him. So Gandhi or Gautam Buddha, all these people actually learned these concepts originally from our scriptures like Ramayana, Mahabharata. Mahabharata, we have an example of Yudhishthira. And Ramayana, of course, Lord Sri Ram, a classic example. Lord Sri Krishna is also a classic example. But what our scriptures also said is only conveyed half of it, basically. The second half of it is not conveyed. They have not become popular in the present world. Ahimsa paramo dharmaha, dharma himsa tadevacha. So what it means is that non-violence is the ultimate dharma, right? But so too is violence in the service of dharma. Who is the best example of that? Lord Sri Ram. So Lord Sri Ram has actually 16 qualities, and if you read Ramayana, actually he's unbeatable, and he's the most powerful person on earth at that time. When you have so much power and so much, you have such a great ability to destroy the whole world, but still he remains peaceful. That is non-violence. He most of the time he was peaceful, and the qualities that he had was that he is excellence in by he's called Viryavan. Viryavan means the one who is who can defeat enemies without himself being injured. That is the quality of Rama, actually. That is the ability of Rama. He's Viryavan. But still, he did not invade anyone. He did not attack anyone. He did not even attack a small insect or an animal. So that is the mindset Rama has given us. What is a non-violence mindset? There is also dharmajna. He's a person who knows both general and specific special dharmas. So he knows what is right and what is wrong, and then only he followed. His actions followed based on only dharma. Dharma governed him, and then he's also kritajna. Kritajna means basically he even considers a little help from rendered by any others as the greatest help, and he remains grateful to such people. And he is also Satyavak, one who speaks truth under all circumstances. So even it means kind of means if you don't speak also, you are creating non-violence in your mind. So that is very important. Then he's also Dhratva. Once he takes a vow, nobody can break his vow till he gets the desired result. And his Charitra, his Charitra is actually, he possesses every good qualities that one can imagine. And he is also Sarvabhuteshu. So he says that implies that every person does good, even those who offend him. So that one quality we have picked up, saying that, okay, if somebody slaps you, you can show your other cheek and get that slap. But is it dharma? Again, we have to question. That is one of the qualities of Rama. But again, he is also, he will also uphold dharma. So if dharma is violated, he will not spare. One of the two persons he has not spared was Vali and Ravana. Same, also he's he's a samartha. Basically, he can perform any task that nobody else can do. So that is the kind of samartha, or means the ability he has. And also he's Atmavan, who is actually, he is the one who controls his mind, or who is very courageous. Jitakrodha, that Jitakrodha in this context actually, he is the one who controls all the 6 bad qualities of the mind, which is kama, krodha, lobha, moha, mada, and matsarya. That means lust, anger, miserliness, for infatuation, intoxication or arrogance, or envy. All these things he has conquered. So his mind is completely under control. So Rama is one person who doesn't attach with anyone in this universe. He is so objectively, his mind is so objective that he doesn't attach himself with any group or any creed. That is the level of peace of mind he has, and that is the highest definition of what is non-violence. And he's a brilliant person, Jyotiman. Actually. So these are some of the qualities of Rama, and he's also Anasuya, means there is no jealousy in him. And finally, basically, he is one person who, even when he gets angry, the whole universe he will be afraid of him. That because he never gets angry, first of all. So he's a controlled aggression. So these are some of the qualities one should have to be a non-violent person. And Rama is the greatest example. And again, let me repeat one more time. Ahimsa paramo dharmaha, dharma himsa tatevacha. So that means violence in the service of dharma is absolutely acceptable in the definition of non-violence. But we think that being non-violent is the only way we should stay. And we have seen what happened to a great extent. Is that I'm not saying that Gandhiji is completely wrong. Gandhiji is partly right, but partly because of his peaceful mind also, people abused. So many thousands, millions of innocents got killed by Britishers and Muslims. So that is also not acceptable. So when you have to uphold dharma, it's okay to be violent, but that is also part of the non-violence definition. So this is what I have learned from my scriptures, and most of our great people like Gandhi, Nehru, or Gautam Buddha, their source of non-violence knowledge has come from these scriptures. So I thought I will reiterate what our scriptures had said, and I wanted to share that information with you. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. Please unmute.
Narayan sir, please unmute yourself.
Thank you very much, Dr. Anantmula. You have given a good examples from Ramayana and other scriptures for the non-violence and in relation to violence. And the non-violence is always preferred and taught by the all ancient great people. So Gandhiji also thought of getting freedom through non-violence because he thought that we cannot match with violence with the British government. So the only alternative is to go for the non-violence. For that he has his own way of life and he has his own approach of living life in which peace was one of the important ingredients. Now I will request Dr. A.K. Pandey ji to give his presidential address.
Thank you. Thank you, Narayan Saab, for giving me opportunity to be part of the Gandhi understanding. And I was carefully hearing Bahan Subhadra, who had specifically told what Gandhiji wished to think about international peace, and she also told how during the war we have prayed that the war will stop. It is true that just like we humans, different nations are also a living creature, and they have clash of interest, and that clash of interest often results into violence and uh, bloodshed type of for power. And everybody knows it need not. We need not repeat that after the war, everybody realizes that both parties are in loss. Even the winner also loses very badly in sense of economic and other things. As on today, world is facing a challenge that the flames of the war between Russia and Ukraine may flow out. And we can watch, we have watched what to do. I feel that really India has stood to the best of its effort to Gandhian principle, not to support war, but to support humanity. Even in Taliban, we have sent help to Afghan people, food and other things, without anything getting in return. And here also, we have not taken any favors with any of the party. But the interesting thing is what we can watch that America silently used its economic power to to stop one party, the party which was stronger. Definitely, Gandhi was in favor of some international tribunal who can adjudicate between countries and other things. I was just going through the old records when during Second World War, Gandhi has written a letter to Hitler and Mussolini. For your knowledge, for information, I quote a few lines of that. It was a long letter. I cannot repeat it whole. If need be, I can send to everybody. It says, "Dear friend, that I address you as a friend is no formality. I own no foes. My business in life has been in the past 33 years to enlist the friendship of the whole humanity by befriending mankind, irrespective of race, color, or creed. I hope you will have time and desire to know how a good portion of humanity who have view living under the influence of the doctrine of universal friendship view your action. We have no doubt about your bravery or devotion to your fatherland, nor do we believe that you are the monster described by your opponents. But your own writings and pronouncements and those of your friends and admirers leave no room for doubt that many of your actions are monstrous and unbecoming of human dignity, especially in the estimation of men like me who believe in universal friendship and others in Poland, Denmark, all those things. In between, Mahatma Gandhi says, our is a unique position. We resist British imperialism no less than Nazism. If there is a difference, it is in degree. One-fifth of the human race has been brought under the British rule by means of that will not bear scrutiny. Our resistance to it does not mean harm to the British people. We seek to convert them, not to defeat them on the battlefield. Ours is an unarmed revolt against the British rule. We, but whether we convert them or not, we are determined to make their rule impossible by non-violence, non-cooperation. It is a method of its nature indefensible. It is based on the knowledge that no spoliator can compass his end without a certain degree of cooperation. Then, in the end, he says that fair, that a fair number of people, men and women in India, who will be prepared without any ill will against the spoliator by lay down their lives rather than bend their knees behind them. Uh, and he says that it would be, you have challenged the British imperialism. It remains to be seen which is better organized, the German or the British. We know that British heel means us and the non-European races of the world. But we would never wish to end the British rule with German aid. We have found non-violence in force. And for that war, he has said that I propose some international tribunal who can adjudicate and decide the thing. So that is real situation that is in real how Mahatma Gandhi reacted to the world war there, and at least in one part, his saying came true that after the world war there was a United Nations organization, some advocate of international peace, and it has got some limited teeth also to stop prevent wars. As on today, United Nations, though not exactly fighting with the many nations, but its opinion matters in the world, and people care about it what they are thinking. As he has said in the letter, he said that non-violence is connected with the civil disobedience. Disobedience means we don't follow your rule, and civil disobedience means we don't follow your rule, but we will not quarrel with you physically by violent means. So, though his action among the world wars, his view among the world wars in the letter expresses what we can do. As Bhadra Bahan has said, we can pray, and he definitely, from side of India, he said that we are praying to stop the war and prevent the mankind from that genocide and other things. Uh, Friends, international peace has got many facets, and it is multi-dimensional thing. But the top organization which can do it, which can understand it, and which can maintain it, has to have just a super state. State means government in the country. Many countries are there, so the organization which can stop it will be super state. And the super state will have some power, some taxation. That was in the imagination of Mahatma Gandhi. But in his imagination, there was one more thing that is often told in one line as that state should wither away. What happens that state gives example by using its coercive power on certain elements, and by influence of that coercive power, that thing, other people fall into line and follow the rule and law. Similar thing can be with super state, and that super state, which is the wider thing, like you know, in his imagination should wither away. That means its credibility should be such that it doesn't require use of that coercive power against anybody, and by violence means by opinion and other things, uh, by moving opinions, by people's expression. It should be able to get its result. The word was the state should be wither away. So we extended that the super state should wither away. As on today, there is world. Sometimes it becomes unipolar. Sometimes it becomes bipolar between communist and capitalist countries. But in his opinion, there should be one uniform code, and there should be minimum influence of that top power. This is how much we could understand about the thoughts of Gandhiji and his expressions in global peace. And as people will study and come forward, many things will come. Uh, with these few words, I finish up my talk. Thank you, everybody, for careful listening. Thanks, Jai Hind.
Thank you very much, Dr. K. Pandey. You have given a very good presidential address by bringing out the facts of Gandhiji and talked about the withering of the state and the super state that you talked about. That's something very important that needs to be considered when we see the world fight, the different countries fighting with each other uh, and disturbing the peace of the globe. Then this is a very right time when I think when we should propagate the Gandhian philosophy and Gandhian vision of peace in the world. Because without peace, we cannot think of survival of the human being and survival of the world also. If you are fighting each time, then all strength is going in vain. That's you are wasting your. And if you are peaceful, then you are constructive. You are doing some positive thing to the society and also to yourself. This is what in different prayer Bhadra Bahana has also mentioned about, and you have also mentioned about it. And Dr. Anant Mula has also mentioned about the Ramayana and other scriptures. And Dr. Siddhartha has talked about the current scenario of the peace, global peace. So with all these, now I would like to thank each participant and in some next webinar we will continue to discuss the role of Gandhiji in peace, in bringing peace to the globe, which he did throughout his life. But now his thoughts are there, his visions are there, and people are there to propagate his vision and thoughts. So we are committed to that, and we will continue uh, to do it with your support and your good words. So with these words, I would like to conclude the webinar of today at this point of time. So thank you to each participants, and we will shortly announce our next uh, program. Thank you. Thank you very much. Shamshida, please conclude. Shamshida, Shamshida,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
conclude now.
Yes,
Conclude.
sir.
You can.
So the webinar was a very interesting webinar, and especially Bhadrabahan ma'am's songs were awesome. In fact, she is really awesome. Her way of singing is so good. In fact, उनके वो भजन बहुत मायने रखते हैं, and also all the points of the speakers in today's webinar are worth to be noted and to be remembered. And also, I'm really thankful to all the participants for coming in today's webinar. And really, today's webinar was a very inspirational webinar because we got a chance to learn a lot about ahimsa, which is slowly, to a large extent, deteriorating in our country. People really need to realize the value of ahimsa with time, and so this webinar is actually one important missile for that. So thank you very much, everybody, for attending today's webinar. Thank you.